We're back again. Invincible episodes finally releasing weekly feels good. Last episode disappointed me slightly, mostly just because we had to wait so long for it, so I've been hoping for a good follow-up for the past week, and we kinda got it. I'd at least say that It's Not That Simple is better than episode 5, however, it still isn't my favorite, and has a lot of the same problems that the show hasn't been able to escape for basically its entire run. It also has some majorly impactful moments that changed a lot in the grand scheme of things, so I'm excited to get talking. We're going to be talking about episode 6, how it compares against the rest of the season, and even how it compares against season 1. Obviously, this means there will be a lot of spoilers, so if you haven't seen Invincible, watch it, but if you've read the comics, please don't spoil me, because I haven't. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Episode 5 left us on a major cliffhanger. Two major cliffhangers. On Mars, Eve's protective shield falls, leaving all of the Guardians there vulnerable, while on Earth, Duplicate and Shrinking Ray are dead, forcing Rex to fight for his life. And the way this one opens leaves me very satisfied, as both are tied up pretty well. Rex instantly gets a headshot that seemingly kills him, only for him to get back up and keep fighting anyways, beating the ever-loving shit out of the Lizard League leader, and suffering no major injuries at all, at least from his perspective. To be honest, everything Rex does in this episode sells me on the idea of him getting a between-seasons special like Eve did. He is a hell of a fighter, and his reinforced skeleton thing offers some questions that could be answered. Plus, Jason Mantzoukas is surprisingly fantastic at voicing a guy who really seems like he's about to die. I rewatched the end of episode 5, and Rex's panic is infectious in a way that I don't like, but I do like. On Mars, Mark takes out the main Martian in a pretty sick scene where he gets to give the Immortal a little reality check, but I want to get back to Rex's thing. A big issue I had with Season 1 was its reluctance to kill characters, even ones that are perfectly fine death fodder. It massacred both Black Salmon and Monster Girl in Episode 5, as well as Mark, who obviously isn't gonna die. Monster Girl's skull is showing, and yet she lives. In this Episode 5, Kate's two remaining versions get smashed into each other, and Shrinking Ray is eaten alive, and we hear what is basically a step-by-step walkthrough of her death. She's dead. I don't think there's any question about that. So you might be a little confused, like I was, to hear that Shrinking Ray is alive in this episode. I can understand Rex getting shot in the head because of his skeleton thing, but Shrinking Ray is dead. You hear me? She's dead. This was apparently changed from the comics, and I don't know why. Do they really like her or something? I mean, I always thought she was a chill lady, but not really worthy of getting a fake-out death. And sure, Kate's dead, but I don't believe that shit for a second. You're telling me that the writers of fake-out death after fake-out death can resist themselves from writing the easiest fake-out death of all time. Hey guys, sorry, Kate had another version hidden away somewhere and didn't tell us. That's all. And you're telling me they aren't going to do that? They are. The next person to die is going to have to literally disintegrate on screen for me to believe that they're really gone, man, because this standard of every side character getting a second chance is getting a little Stranger Things-like. It's a problem that the show's got to fix, and the only way to fix it is to kill one of these cute, fun, supporting cast members. Sorry. Before I get back to major plot lines, I'm going to touch on the less important stuff that only gets a couple scenes. Debbie hires a babysitter for the purple kid that has already grown and is now walking and talking, and it turns out the babysitter is a spy for Cecil, but decides to be on Debbie's side anyways. I think this is a pretty sweet scene, even if it does confuse me a little bit that Cecil needs to monitor the kid even more, despite the fact that we already know he has a camera in the house. Plus, I wish Debbie had a bigger role here, but the Guardians did need focus. Along with that, there's two continuations to some of the worst plots of the show, but it's not all bad. William's boyfriend Rick randomly shows up after getting kidnapped by Ezra Miller in Season 1's Scooby-Doo-esque episode, apparently being another product of Cecil's body reconstruction experiments. While I wish we could all just forget about Season 1 Episode 6, this does develop Cecil's dark side, which is something I had been hoping for so it could be normalized. Additionally, the Martian plot refuses to die, as the astronaut rescued from Mars is attacked by a sequid on Earth, and it takes him over. I seriously have no clue why this show is so addicted to the Martian story, but I guess we'll be dealing with that too. So Mark's dealing with a lot throughout this episode. He and Amber are starting to realize that they barely even feel like a couple, since they don't spend enough time together, and they decide to have separate yet similar conversations with Eve and the Joker, respectively. I'm happy we got this moment because Mark and Amber straight up just don't work together right now, and I imagine their relationship won't last much longer. It's just difficult to write because Mark has two love interests and only one of them is part of his superhero life, which is what the show is about. It's good that they're addressing this now, but if they pivot away from Amber being Mark's girlfriend, I don't know what her role in the show would even be. After that, he speaks to Alan, who is coming off of a talk with his boss, revealed to be a Viltrumite, who told him to go recruit Mark. Their conversation gets interrupted by the Immortal, who is a weird presence in this episode. Kate's dead, in quotes, and for some reason, this impacts him the most. I know they were dating, but I swear that was brought up once, and he's grieving about it for the whole runtime, while Ross Marquand refuses to drop the gruff military sergeant voice. It is pretty sad to consider that he outlives any person he loves, and I like the new perspective he has on life after the ones we've gotten from other characters. The Viltrumites have the same thing going on, even if they can be killed, but they view all others as weak, while he's just depressed that no one's around as long as he is. I don't hate it. What Mark and Alan actually talk about is pretty cool. Nolan's last words to Mark were to read his books, and after months we get to learn what the hell that meant. Apparently Nolan wrote some science fiction books that contain strategies to defeat the Viltrumite Empire. I actually love that Nolan most likely had these before he went rogue at all, or even considered it. It gives me the idea that all the Viltrumites do, just in case they have to fight each other, and that feels fitting for them. I also like that Mark refuses to go off with Alan, because it is getting a bit tiring how much Mark gets dragged to space. This time he just helps from the sidelines, but I imagine he'll end up back out there soon enough. Cool talk, cool scene, I like it a lot. The final thing I'll mention before we start to speak generally is that we do actually see a glimpse of Nolan when the episode is getting ready to wrap up. He doesn't say anything, but all he does is get locked in a cell and pound the floor. Simultaneously, he is much less menacing than usual, but also you can tell he's about to go apeshit on this whole planet. I'm satisfied with that. Overall, I think I'm pretty satisfied with the whole episode. It's not that simple as a pretty good time despite the issues I have. Most of my issues are wider problems with the show, like the refusal to kill side characters, and the refusal to kill side plots. I can't say this one annoyed me in a way that another didn't do worse. Although what the fuck is going on with Angstrom Levy? He's back, but just for the end credit scene. He's in a cool suit, and is finally prepared to fight Mark after 6 episodes doing nothing at all. I'm sorry, but this is not enough. With the setup he was given, this guy was the new main villain of the show. But he's starting to feel like the Lizard League. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna complain about this every episode until he does something I like. I just really don't want them to waste Sterling K. Brown. Plus, the less he appears, the less the Mahler twins appear, and that's a huge loss. But okay, that's it. I'm still satisfied with this episode, but it didn't make the biggest impression on me. It feels a bit like a filler episode, and one that undid a lot that episode 5 put in place, even if what actually went down was enjoyable enough. I think a 7 out of 10 is fair. What I'd really like to see the show do is combine all the storylines into one core plot that we can safely follow without having to waste time on random shit. Drop the Martian stuff, then get Cecil involved in the Nolan execution. Hell, maybe even get Amber in on it. As Mark and Amber have some sort of confrontation, she could end up getting too close to the conflict and be dragged in. I understand that I'm essentially spitballing for something that's already been written, and these ideas aren't even very good, but I just want a way to fix the consistent bothers that keep popping up in this show. Episode 7 is sure to be a hell of a thing, though, if they want to live up to the reputation of Season 1's penultimate entry, so I'll see you next week with a review of whatever happens next. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe if you so please. Bye now.